Welcome to episode number 6 of the AVA Movement Podcast, a show about all things Angels and Airwaves, To the Stars, and Tom DeLonge. My name is Adam Barnard, and today I'm joined once again by my co-host Christie, this time to discuss a brand new single hot off the press from Angels and Airwaves titled All That's Left Is Love. So Stephen, welcome back. How you doing, man?
I'm doing okay, given the circumstances. How are you doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, exactly the same. Coping, hanging in there, and trying to hang on to a sense of hope, which I think is very, very relevant to this new song we got from Angels and Airwaves. There's literally no better time to bring back that, universal message of love and unity that, feels very Love era, and now we got in a brand new song, almost 10 years later from that era.
Yeah, who'd thought that we'd be getting a single this early into 2020. I definitely thought it would maybe be summer, but here we are. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, and I mean, it did take a long time to get here considering the last single they put out was Kiss and Tell, which was in August. I mean, we did get the music video for Kiss and Tell in November, so it kind of counts as a new release to keep the hype and the interest going, but it's been a solid, 8 months since we got an Angels and Airwaves song.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that long. That's pretty mad.
And what's particularly interesting about this is I don't think All That's Left Is Love was actually intended to be the third single from the start. If you remember back in December, we got a song teaser for the third single, or what was supposed to be the third single, called Time Bomb, which scored Peter McKinnon's documentary teaser, which he put out on his YouTube channel end of the year. And Tom on Twitter said this is going to be our next single, look for it. So I was thinking, okay, January, February, if we already heard some of the song, it's got to be coming soon. And if they're going to release a single every 4 months, they did Rebel Girl in April, Kiss and Tell in August. It's kind of made sense to get Time Bomb in January or February. But clearly something must have changed behind the scenes. I think, January was kind of before the coronavirus, so I don't know if that was impacting the plans, but something changed, and this is what we got instead. But hey, it's a great song, so I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, it's possible that the coronavirus maybe changed plans, but it's also maybe possible that they just decided to change it up a little bit, maybe keep it for the album. Who knows, really? Maybe they've changed up the actual song itself. Maybe it wasn't finished.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I know when I interviewed Aaron Rubin back in, I don't know if it was, I think October, he had said, they had the third song finished. They were thinking about redoing it. I think Tom works with a very fluid, organic, iterative process where it's kind of like you record something, you sit on it, you change it. Maybe you record some what you think are going to be final tracks and you don't like it and you redesign it. So yeah, I mean, I guess one of the great things about Angels and Airwaves being at this place in their career is the fact that they're not particularly held to a traditional recording schedule where it's okay, you do all your demos, you go into a studio for 3 months, the label's paying for it, they expect 10 or 12 songs at the end of those 3 months, and that's that. If you want to rework something, too bad, try harder on the next record. I mean, Tom at this point basically has a studio in his house, and, Aaron Rubin is his right-hand man, and they just work at their own pace, and I think the result of that is something that's organic and fluid, and they can write something that they're feeling now, not something that they planned to record 6 months ago, and now's D-Day to record the album. I think we get cool stuff like that because of the process.
Yeah, there's really no stopping them at this point. When they signed with Rise Records, I kind of thought that they would be pushed in the direction where they have to put out an album, and they've done the tour. They've cancelled the tour that they should be on right now.
Yeah.
So it's not as if they're sort of stopping or they're slowing down. They're still keeping up the pace. I kind of thought that they would be pushed to have an album out by this point. So I'm kind of pleasantly surprised that Rise Records have taken this initiative with the band, with Tom, and they've led them in a way where they can sort of do what they need to do at their own pace, and that's kind of how they work best anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy with that.
I'm sure that's kind of like a stipulation in the contract that Tom made. I mean, Tom strikes me as a person who wants to have a lot of creative freedom. If you remember, he kind of negotiated Blink off of Interscope back in 2012, before the Dogs Eating Dogs EP. I mean, I think his plan for Blink moving forward was to be independent and to have kind of a fluid recording process. Obviously, that didn't work out so well for a myriad of reasons at the time, but it's in the entertainment industry, when you get to a certain milestone in your career or a certain level of acclaim or visibility, visibility or success, it becomes a matter of the studios want to partner with you, not you want to partner with the studios. And so like you see this a lot with big filmmakers like Spielberg or Scorsese. They get as much time as they need. Whenever they want to start the movie, that's fine. You know, whatever budget they need, it's usually accommodated. So, you know, if Tom was an up and coming artist in his 20s signing on Rise Records, probably would have had to force an album out by now. But it's like at this point, he's Tom DeLonge. You know, he's had a huge career with 3 bands and some solo work. It's kind of, it behooves the label to give that kind of freedom. And, you know, because of that, we get you know, on the Angels and Airwaves, I think Instagram page, they said the vocals and the song was really only written 2 weeks ago. And I heard Tom said on the 91X interview, like the music had been around for a while, but he just got the melody and the vocal and the themes done, you know, a week or two ago. And this is kind of his stream of consciousness and reaction to the whole situation that's been unfolding since the beginning of the year. And it's like, the song is good, but it really hit me how cool and relevant it is that we're already getting art reflecting on what the public consciousness is kind of feeling lately.
Yeah, it's amazing how dark times and unsure times can really inspire musicians, especially Tom. He seems to sort of not thrive off it, but you know, and it's crazy how good a job he can do at just sort of turning things around so quickly, turning it into hope, turning it into kindness, and making it into this fantastic song. 2 weeks later, the song's out, and you know, all the proceedings are going to charity. So it's not as if this is done in a sort of selfish way, like to promote his band or to promote him. He doesn't need to promote his band. At this point of his career, he doesn't need to promote his band. So the fact that all the money is going to charity is amazing, fantastic.
Yeah, and I mean it kind of feels like a very U2 type rollout. Tom's channeling his inner Bono for this release and just, you know,
I think he's been wanting to do that for a long time.
yeah, but that's why it feels right, you know? I mean, so much of early Angels and Airwaves was finding their voice and finding what they wanted to sing about, and now it's like there's no concern about like branding or can I do this or should I do this? Like the brand of Angels and Airwaves is there is no brand. There is no, I mean, I guess everyone knows Angels as the space rock band, but it's like at this point with all the EPs he's done and all the most recent albums he's done, it's like I think people expect him to do something different at every turn, at every song, on every album. And it's like it's that kind of like unfettered creative stream of consciousness that I think is resulting in the music having such a connection with people and really seeming to explode as of late, you know, with the last few singles and now this song.
Yeah, there's an interesting movement of people now as well, of sort of like post Blink Tom. They're looking to see what he can do after Blink 182.
Sure.
Comparing it to what they've put out. I've noticed quite a lot of comments comparing it to Nine, the most recent Blink album.
Really?
Yeah. Well, just in terms of like not comparing it in terms of atmosphere, but comparing it sort of how good a song it comes across as, and how cohesive and how structured the songs can be. He's definitely on a roll right now, and I'm not putting down Blink at all. You know, they've done extremely well given the circumstances of having to lose one of their main members. They just kept going, and so obviously it's still working for them. But you do see quite a lot of people comparing the two sides of it now, and it's quite interesting to watch.
So just to talk about the song right now specifically, I want to get your take on, you know, how you reacted to when you heard it and now, you know, a day or two later, how it's sitting with you.
Sure. So when they put the teaser out, I was excited for the prospect of a new song, but the teaser didn't do anything for me. It felt like quite an odd teaser to put out. It maybe teased too much, if that makes sense. Like there was like a really, I think it's the bridge, isn't it? There's like a distorted vocal, and there's a cool bass line and stuff like that, but it just didn't do anything for me. So when the song came out, you know, I listened to it straight after it was on the radio. I don't really listen to radio releases, but I listened to it straight after on Spotify and pleasantly surprised just in terms of the direction they ended up taking. I thought they were kind of going to keep getting heavier and heavier, and I'm maybe like in the minority here, but he keeps mentioning Boxcar Racer. and I get heart palpitations every time he says that, because it's just like I really don't want him to go back to that sound. That was an amazing album, one of a kind, never could happen again, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And
Lightning in a bottle.
yeah, exactly. And I hate when artists go back and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to continue this sort of feeling, this sort of sound," because it never works. It never works. So I was pleasantly surprised about this. It's a nice sounding song. The dynamics of the sort of the guitars and even the drums. The drums actually fit quite nicely on this one. I kind of thought that the drums were a bit too pounding on Kiss and Tell.
Yeah.
But they fit really, really nicely on this one.
I really honestly didn't expect a song like this to come out. I thought they were kind of done with the love sound, and I was expecting something, in line with Rebel Girl and Kiss and Tell. And it actually kind of caught me off guard how retro it was, but still in a progressive sense, like still with Tom 2.0 or 3.0 sensibilities.
Yeah, in a good way though. I think it's when they got to Love Part 2, they had been doing that sound for 3 albums, and
Yeah.
I mean, given that Love does sound a tiny bit different from the first 2 albums, it's a bit more progressive. It's still a sort of similar style. So for them to completely depart that for 2 EPs, an album, 2 single releases, you've heard nothing like that since then, and it's been a long time. It's been a longer time than people think. It's just nice to hear that sound again, and even if it's just for one song, that's fine. Maybe it only needs to be one song. I don't think
Sure.
it needs to be a full album of just vintage Angels and Airwaves, because we don't need that again.
Yeah, I don't think anyone really wants to hear Love Part 3, but if we just get 1 or 2 throwback songs, I mean that's exciting. And it feels like it's for the right cause. The fact that all the proceeds are going to Feeding America, which is this massive charity. I think it's given food to something like 40 million Americans. And Tom has said, people see America as a country with a lot of wealth, but there's still a lot of poverty in America. And like some kids get their one hot meal, like the one proper meal of the day from school. And now school is closed and everyone's at home. And so I think this was just on his mind that like even just basic living requirement of food is not accessible to everyone as easy as it was when we had a functioning society. And it's like to revisit this vibe, as we like to call it, of universal connection and love, and in this kind of like esoteric idea of a shared spiritual consciousness. It could not be more fitting to send all the proceeds from that to a charity that's making sure Americans and people are getting food in this very, very tough time.
Yeah, spreading positivity and love is kind of what the message has been this whole time. So, what was your first reactions when the song first came out?
It was very surreal. Again, not what I expected. Specifically, the song is very airy and ambient. It feels kind of floaty and not, none of the instruments are too loud or have a lot of attack to them. So it kind of just feels like a very surreal mix. And I'm so used to or at least I was conditioned to expect the real driving, beat of something like Kiss and Tell or Rebel Girl. And, the clip we saw, I assumed was part of a bridge or an intro, so I figured it didn't really represent what the final song was going to be. I kind of thought it was deliberately misleading, which it ended up kind of being. Yeah, but when the song came out, it was like, it just felt like such a hazy, happy song, and I didn't quite know what to think about it. A couple days later now that it sat with me, I actually think, I'm going to be honest here, it's probably my least favorite of the new singles. I would probably say Kiss and Tell is my favorite, closely followed by Rebel Girl. But I do got to stress that I am just very impressed with this song and the timeliness of it and the soul that's put into it. The fact that, Tom and the band is willing to be that open about their own feelings and thoughts, and it just creates more of a connection with the listener. And so even if the song didn't quite resonate with me as much as it is with other people, I just really respect the fact that it's different. It's like the band isn't gonna make gonna make the sequel to Kiss and Tell and Rebel Girl. They're gonna make something completely different. And so it's like I like being caught off guard whether or not I fall in love with the song, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they're kind of getting to be known to do that though, aren't they? everything that they're putting out is completely different from one another. Specifically on the Chasing Shadows EP, actually,
Yeah,
from start to finish, not one of those songs sound the same.
exactly.
Um, Even going back to the Dreamwalker, which quite famously put quite a lot of people off. Um, then again, it's still completely different from start to end. So it's, like you say, I was caught off guard as well. So I mean, still catching us off guard. Here we go.
Yeah, and when it comes to the sonics of the song, I was really surprised to find out that Tom Lord Alge had mixed the song. He was the go-to mixer for I think the first four records. I think Critter mixed a few songs, but Tom Lord Alge mixed the vast majority of, We Don't Need to Whisper, I Empire, Love 1 and 2, and he hasn't been doing so much since then. I think he mixed a few songs in the Dreamwalker. He mixed like Mercenaries and Bullets in the Wind, and then he mixed Suburban Kings off of Tom's solo album. But
Yeah.
this is his first time back in a while, and this is a big release too. This is kind of like a big single. It's getting a lot of press. It's fighting for a good cause, and it was just so interesting to have him come back. But also do something completely different. I think when we think of his mixing skills and his work with Angels and Airwaves, we think of the really hi-fi, early AVA stuff with big, loud, aggressive drums and kind of like massive vocals that are spread and have like a lot of auto-tune and reverb. And it's like, this has traces of that, but it's also something completely different than what he's done before with Angels and Airwaves.
Yeah, the mix is absolutely crisp.
Yeah.
It's like I Empire crisp. It's brilliant. To be honest, I think it's mixed better than the other two singles.
Okay.
Personally, I do enjoy this mix a little bit more. I think that's just down to personal preference. A lot of people will disagree, and some people really like the hard hitting, raw sounding Kiss and Tell. It's almost on the complete opposite spectrum of this song. But yeah, it's kind of surprising that Tom Lord Alge did this one. I kind of thought that Tom would just maybe rely on Aaron from here on, or whoever else Aaron sort of suggests to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I maybe shouldn't be surprised. Tom Lord Alge's been on pretty much every release, hasn't he? Apart from the two EPs.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, a brilliant mix. Personally, I really enjoyed Tom Lord Alge's sort of visions about everything that Angels have. I watched his live stream when he was mixing the Adventure.
It was for the Nail the Mix thing that they just the competition they put out where you get the raw tracks from the Adventure and have to like do your own mix. It's that one, right?
Yeah, the Nail the Mix one. He did a live stream just mixing it from start, like remixing it almost.
Yeah.
And it was almost exactly the same. He just has a vision for how a mix needs to be, and I think for some people when they go and remix a song, they would improve certain things here and there that they hadn't learned in the past. But for him, he knows what a song needs.
Yeah.
And I think he knew what this song needed. Needed sort of, it's still got distorted guitars and it's still got delayed guitars like the previous albums. But they have an atmosphere to every single layer, which is, for me, that's successful mixing.
For sure. Yeah, and the last two singles were actually mixed by Tony Hoffer, who's completely new to working with Angels and Airwaves, and Aaron Rubin. Tony Hoffer's mostly known for like M83, Beck. He's done some 30 Seconds to Mars, Depeche Mode. There's this band called Foreign Air that he's been mixing that I've been really into lately. None of the bands really sound the same. Like, he's a very eclectic mixer. The stuff he mixes just runs a whole spectrum of genres. And I think that made him a good fit for Angels and Airwaves, which is why I think Rebel Girl and Kiss and Tell, like him or not, sound so absolutely different. And I thought he was just going to mix the rest of the album. I figured they would just keep going to him. But it's interesting. I also like having multiple mixers on the record because most of the songs, it's coming from Aaron and Tom and Alon. It's like Tom doesn't work with a lot of producers. He basically has his go-to right-hand man who's the engineer and the producer, and then he has Alon as a writing partner. So I think getting different mixers, some new, some old, for this new album will keep it fresh, keep an element of legacy in the music, but also move it forward to exciting new directions and textures that we haven't heard used.
Yeah, I'm a little impartial to having various mixers on albums. It can sometimes be quite detrimental to the sound of the album. Sometimes it works wonders. In the past, it's worked wonders for Angels. But I've seen bands in the past use various mixers, and I think due to budget restrictions, I don't think Tom's using this due to budget restrictions. I think he could probably get anyone he wanted to mix his albums at this point. But just to name off the top of my head, there's a band called Paris, an American band called Paris, who they put out their second album a few years ago now, and they had the guy who mixed the first album, and then like four other mixers doing the rest of the album. And I don't think any of them communicated, and it sounds like they haven't communicated. So that's kind of what I fear about this sort of situation where they have like maybe potentially three, probably three, potentially maybe more. We'll wait and see, but so far it's kind of worked. The first two singles sound great, and this single sounds great. It sounds maybe too different though.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, my main issue with it is just a little busy, and I think it's so well spread out and so ambient that it almost like the song loses some of its punch. And I also worry about how it translates on the radio. Like a good mix listened to on a pair of normal car speakers or at decent headphones or even computer speakers might not sound good on the radio because you have radio compression and kind of a level of FM distortion, especially if you're listening in your car. So like a lot of the best radio hits have a lot of space in the mix and aren't very busy, and it doesn't have the layers all bouncing up against each other and creating that kind of tension or energy. So like, and that sounds super cool. Like when I listen to it on the Audio Technica headphones I have that I use for like mixing reference, it sounds awesome. So well done. Doesn't mean it necessarily sounds the best on the radio. But that's a choice. Like I totally respect not wanting to like just tailor something for the radio so it works in the next 3 months. Rather have a mix that you like for all of time, that stands the test of time versus something that's going to sound good through FM distortion. But yeah, I mean, personally, I just would have liked the vocals to pop a little bit more. But again, I'm always of the camp that's like, if it's different and if there's a creative voice behind it, doesn't really matter how much I personally dig it. I just respect a level of creative authorship and trying something different. It doesn't sound like anything it doesn't sound like Anxiety or Surrender or anything in terms of its mix.
There's a really big debate about the sort of the radio mix versus the headphone mix.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of like producers debate about this whether you should. I mean, realistically, you have to think about this that most people are going to hear this on the radio or they're going to hear this in some sort of public setting.
If it's a radio hit,
Yeah,
though. I mean, it's like, are you talking about like if it was hypothetically a radio hit or even just like the Spotify streaming stuff as well?
yeah. Well, I mean, imagine this situation. Imagine this song becomes a radio hit. It's only been out for a day, so there's still every opportunity for it to become a radio hit. But hypothetically, it becomes a radio hit. Say it doesn't sound good on the radio, and most people hear this on the radio. That's the mix that they're used to. That's the image that they have for it. That's the sort of sound image they have.
Sure.
We sort of associate this song with sounding bad.
Right.
But then you hear it through monitors, or you hear it even just through like your laptop speakers or your TV or something like that. And it sounds instantly better. This debate does go back to the point where, do you mix for the radio? Some people genuinely mix their songs so that they sound good on radio.
Right.
Like they cut out frequencies and they cut out...
Or they master it differently. Yeah.
Yeah. Radio master, it's a radio edit. There's so many producers now pretty much just do that because they know that the song is going to be played on radio for about 3 months, make its money, and then no one's ever going to listen to it again. So, yeah, it's up for debate, isn't it?
Yeah, it is really up for debate, and it has been debated quite a bit on social media, as far as I've seen. On the AVA Movement Facebook group, or even on Twitter. I've been running the Twitter account lately and been reading all the responses, and it seems like there's some complaints about the mix, or there's a lot of enthusiasm, but there's some kind of complaints about the sonics, and I can never tell, or at least I struggle to tell, when it's just a matter of like, I think this doesn't work, or it's like I don't like something that's different. It's like, because in terms of the Dreamwalker, I remember a lot of people were very jarred by the Dreamwalker taking a hard left turn, and I think over time, a lot of those people have said, okay, it's just different. Maybe I don't like some of it, maybe I do, but it's different. But yeah, I think because Angels and Airwaves has been constantly reinventing themselves, it's throwing some people off. But I also I'll have some issues with the mix as well, so I'm not trying to nullify those people who are, raising that objection. Time will tell, I think, where the legacy of the song sits, or just like it has with the Dreamwalker. But it seems to, in a general sense, have touched a nerve. Even the people who don't necessarily like this song, I've seen, has said they really just like the message behind it. They like the vibe that's coming out of it, and the whole release. I think it's just been handled really well. It's been a pleasure to witness and now discuss because of that.
Yeah, they're taking this they're taking it very seriously, and you can tell there's a lot of care and compassion put into the project now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's lovely to see. Yeah.
And once again, all of the proceeds are going to be going to the nonprofit Feeding America. If you want to learn more about the charity, so you know where the single money is going, or if you're interested in donating or supporting the cause as well, you can go to www.feedingamerica.org, or you can look. Tom has posted it on Twitter. Tom's actually interacted with the official Feeding America Twitter as well. So any of the social media platforms, it should be pretty easy to find them.
They also have a T-shirt on the To the Stars website. It's $26. Again, all the money goes to Feeding America. It's also a rad T-shirt. So it's kind of a win-win there, isn't it?
Absolutely. So now that we've presented our thoughts on the song and the mix and its whole release platform, now it's time to hand the mic over to you guys and listen to some voicemails, which we got a ton of this week. So I guess we'll just go ahead and roll them.
Hey y'all, this is Morgan from Indianapolis. I think All That's Left Is Love is an amazing Angels and Airwaves track. The chord structure is a little bit different than what we're used to from the way Tom has written songs in the past, but the drums retain more of a classic Angels and Airwaves throwback sort of vibe. And the lyrics are amazingly relevant to what's happening right now. And overall, I would say that this is a killer Angels and Airwaves track. Can't wait for the new album.
Hey guys, my name is Ash and I'm from Australia. All That's Left Is Love is incredible. Truly incredible. Wow. I think the amazing thing about this track is that it brought me back to when I was, 16, listening to Angels and Airwaves for the first time. I'm now 30. But it is like listening to AVA for the very first time. It has so many vibes from the other albums like We Don't Need to Whisper, Love's Part 1 and 2, and even The Dreamwalker. The song really reminds me of the Revelator from Love's Part 2. I really love that song. But yeah, you're really going to want to check this track out. It's really good. This song sheds such a warm light on, such a dark world that we're in right now with all this isolation and stuff. But it's really awesome to see everybody spreading love and support to those who have been affected by the virus. And this song is honestly something we needed right now. I really love it. To me, AVA is more than just a band though. They're like the soundtrack to the universe. Well, they are space rock after all. I mean, we're all in this together, guys, and my heart sincerely goes out to everybody who's been affected by the virus. So stay safe, be well, send your friends and family and whoever else just some kind words during this time, and thanks for listening.
My name is Alejandro. I'm from Colombia, and Angels and Airwaves is a very important part of my life, and I think that All That's Left Is Love is very, very impressive song, because actually now I can feel hope.
Hi, David there, and I think we're all going through a difficult time right now. Many sit at home and being in quarantine and overthinking and all that stuff, and I think it's just great from Angels and Airwaves to release such a meaningful and powerful song in these strange times, as you can call them. I really love the message behind it, and I think it's a great way to connect with people and to tell these people love is something that will always be there. And I thank Angels and Airwaves and Tom and the other guys from the bottom of my heart for this really amazing message and this amazing song.
When the darkness comes and these times are very hard for everyone right now, And we kind of need that little bit of hope that will pick us up. And I think that's new song by Angels Airwaves that what gave it to us, that little bit of hope, and realizing that we still have love for each other and for everything. And this is just trying time, and we can become better and be better for the world once it's all over, and rethink a lot of things. Well, that's for me. Why Angels Airwaves does for me all the time. Just makes me wonder and makes me see things a bit different.
What I think about All That's Left Is Love is unreal. It's nostalgic. I can relate perfectly to the song. Every beats, every strums of the strings, every word Tom said. You feel your heart rushes. I love the nostalgic feeling of the song. Angels and Airwaves never disappoint me. They're fucking magical. When you listen to it, put a smile on your face and you're thinking, is this love? And then a second later you think, yes it is. Oh, it's just so good. And the lyrics kind of fits too with the current situation right now in the world. So that's what I think about it. So stay safe, everyone. Keep your distance. Keep it all clean. Close your eyes and listen to the song. Thank you.
Hello, AVA Movement Podcast. My name's Alex, and this is my review of the new Angels and Airwaves song, All That's Left Is Love. First off, I'll start by saying that I've listened to the song 5 times in from start to finish. I like the song, that's the bottom line. I do like the song. It definitely grew on me more and more over each listen, as I suppose most songs do, but this one did in particular. I really enjoy the contrast between the first 40 odd seconds before it really gets into the rock aspect of the song. I found that, the first 40 seconds reminiscent of the style of tracks in the Love Part 1 and 2 duo. And then I like what happened from there. I like the lyrics. I like the way it's put together. I also I take my hat off to the band for the fact that they've put this song together in such a short period of time. I think that's great, unless it's a coincidence that the lyrics are this fitting. But also, I guess if I had to have a criticism, it would be that I found the production to be, I guess, a bit murky, not as crisp and clear as I guess I prefer, which would be more reminiscent of the first 2 Angels and Airwaves albums with Critter behind at the helm. And but in general, I liked it. Thanks, guys.
Hi, guys. I'm Tamara from Mexico City. I hope you consider my thoughts. I listened to the new song yesterday, and I think it's not a good song. Angels and Airwaves is my favorite band ever. Tom DeLonge is my hero. But it's not a good song. Even though it's an honest song with very nice lyrics, not very deep, but very honest lyrics, it's not a good song. I think that the production is not as good as I hoped. The mixing is pretty low quality. I think that the fact that we are all in a very difficult situation globally and we're all scared and affected doesn't make it obligatory for a band to release something. Kiss and Tell and Rebel Girl are way better. I'm not comparing. I'm just saying, you could have not released the song or just, I don't know. I think it's an honest song with nice lyrics, but I don't really think that it's a good song. I think that we're giving it way more attention than it deserves, and I think that I wanted to give my opinion over the topic. Thank you very much.
So my thoughts on the new Angels and Airwaves track, it's essentially a very, very good mix of the I Empire era with, I would say, probably Love Part 2. The whole song, essentially, I love how it starts off very, very slow and then immediately just does that classic Angels and Airwaves explosion into a fun, catchy guitar riff with a new little twist to it. So Ilan Rubin's definitely brought a whole new dimension to this band, but at the same time, they're still keeping that nostalgia, and I love it.
Hey everyone, this is George from Miami, Florida, and I've been a longtime AVA fan since the days of We Don't Need a Whisper, and I just wanted to share some thoughts on the new single, All That's Left Is Love. So overall, I think it's a really great song. I think it's reminiscent of something that could have come out during the Love era. I especially like the mixing on this track. I feel like I can hear Tom's vocals clearly throughout, and I really enjoy that a lot. The vibe of the song is great. It's positive, it's uplifting, and definitely something that we need right now at this time. So yes, I give it 2 thumbs up, and I can't wait for the new album to come out. Stay safe, everyone.
I thought All That's Left Is Love was a solid song. I didn't think it was as good as Kiss and Tell, and I didn't think the chorus was as good as Rebel Girls. However, it is just the song that all of us need in this period of time. Yeah, but other than that, great song.
So thank you to everyone who called in on this episode to give their thoughts on the new Angels and Airwaves single, All That's Left Is Love. Man, really love the title for that, All That's Left Is Love.
It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's also, I don't know if this is intentional or I'm just seeing things that aren't there. It feels like there's a little throwback to A Little's Enough in the lyrics of the chorus.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I have the lyrics right here. It's at the end of the chorus. The line is, when the days are getting tough, a little bit's enough, when all that's left is love. So, maybe or maybe not a throwback to We Don't Need a Whisper.
That's very interesting, actually. I've read some people comparing it to I'm Lost Without You.
What part? In terms of like structure or lyrics?
I think the intro of the song is I've read quite a few people say it sounds like a throwback to I'm Lost Without You in terms of like how it starts, the chords, him doing his sort of like, it sounds deep and it sounds emotional. I can sort of see where they're coming from.
So in terms of Angels and Airwaves' album release schedule, there's no particular indication with this single as to how plans have changed, if they've changed at all. Tom recently said on Instagram, I think it was, that they're about a month or two out from finishing the album. They're in final tracking. They've laid out all the songs. So they're, mixing some songs, finishing tracking on some other ones. Like we said earlier, this song was, the lyrics and the vocals were just probably recorded a week or two ago. But, I think the plan was to go and tour this album. Tom had said he wants to spend the next 2 years bringing this album and these songs and the band and its message and its stage production around the globe. And unfortunately, I think we're at the stage where that's going to be very affected or delayed at least a year.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I hope they do the full works on this album. But yeah, I can't see really anything happening maybe until 2021 at the sort of earliest, which is a shame because they have got a bit of steam going ahead. But maybe that's just a good indication that we have sort of more singles coming out until the album is ready to go, and then maybe as soon as this is all cleared up, they can just go straight on tour and it'll work out. I'm hoping anyway.
Yeah, because I think the initial plan was to have the album out by summer or fall and then start a big US tour or North America tour and then do a big Europe tour right after it. I mean, you're totally right. The band had so much steam coming off the 2 singles, Rebel Girl and Kiss and Tell. I mean, the fall tour and the first leg of the winter tour, which didn't get canceled, vastly exceeded expectations, I think, for the band. And it's, the venues it was playing, they had to upgrade the venues and add nights to the, maybe visit a city for 2 or 3 nights instead of 1 night because the demand was so high. And Tom has said, like, man, because of that break, because of, doing To the Stars Academy and all the side projects, like, I'm so ready to jump back into music. And it seems like that's his priority. He's been pretty much consistently in the studio since the beginning of the year. But they could hypothetically release the album in summer or fall, but there's absolutely no way they're going to be touring, I think, in summer or fall. Not to get into world news or anything, but as far as I've heard, a vaccine could be like a year off. And it's like, above all, we want people to be safe. That's the goal, is to keep people safe. Everyone wants to go to an Angels and Airwaves concert, but not at the expense of their own health. And I think given the potential for this band to maybe do smaller stadiums or do big club venues, have the kind of stage production, interactive elements, have a visual screen behind the band, there's so much cool stuff that I think they want to do. And in order to do it right and do it safely, they might have to wait. But then the question is, like, do they finish this record and then sit on it till summer of 2021? Or do they just release the record now and then maybe release like a single next summer, and then start the tour? Can they sustain that momentum, or will people remember the album if they release it when they plan on it, but only delay touring for like another year?
I mean, off the top of my head, there's two bands I follow that have done exactly that. They've sat on their album. Off the top of my head, one of them is Biffy Clyro, and the other one is Paris. You know what? Actually, yeah, I think they're both supposed to be out in May, and they've delayed them till the end of the year now. And I think it depends on what way you look at it. It depends if you want the album. There's a certainty that you will be disappointed that it will be delayed. But you have to look at it in a way where if you want that experience of the album comes out, you go to the tour, you get your merch, you support the band for a little bit, and then it sort of fizzles down until the next sort of album release is coming out. You're not going to get that if they put the album out right now. It depends what experience you want, really. And I'd imagine the majority of the fan base want that sort of live experience. That's what everyone looks forward to if the album comes out and you go to the show. But there is some bands that are putting out their albums still to this day. I can't really speak for them on the terms of like how their marketing's going, but I can't imagine it's doing them any wonders.
Yeah, that's really interesting information. It'll be case dependent for every band, and in terms of Angels, only time will tell. I mean, just to be clear, we don't have any inside information here. Pretty much everything we just said is speculation or educated guessing. But yeah, we'll see, and in the meantime, I guess we'll just hang tight and enjoy the music we have.
Yeah, and it's good music too, so that's a bonus, right?
Exactly. So thank you to everyone who tuned in to this episode of the AVA Movement Podcast. In these tough times, we hope everyone supports each other and stays safe, and considers supporting the single or supporting Feeding America. I think it's times like this I just have to once again echo the message of the song, All That's Left Is Love. It's been tough, I think, for all of us. We're into isolation here, but it's a great time to show love to family and friends and tell people that you care about them, and we'll all get through this together. And I think it's something Angels and Airwaves fans are especially attuned to, that message of love and unity. So very excited to see what comes from the band in the future, and we hope you guys all stay safe.
Yeah, stay home and stay safe.
In the meantime, my name is Adam.
My name's Steven.
And we'll see you next time.